How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Today, we want to talk about blockbuster or bust. Is this Yankee team really in a spot that they can go out and get a player that's not going to elevate them significantly? Or do they need a Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani or one of these top-end players to really give them that boost they need to be championship contenders? Now, there is competition. You know the Dodgers are going to be in the mix for Ohtani. We just kind of heard that the Rays could be interested in making themselves a super team and then, basically walking away with the AL and hopefully, in their case, winning a championship. But the Yankees probably don't want that to happen. You probably don't want the Rays to build a super team, even though they're definitely not going to be able to pay someone like Ohtani. Their team would just be stupid good. And right now, the Yankees need the help. Giancarlo Stanton's ramping up. Josh Donaldson got placed on the IL with a calf injury, and they promoted Oswald Peraza. So, you're really seeing some changes happening right now. DJ LeMahieu had a second consecutive multi-hit game. He had 3 hits yesterday, and we're seeing some of these guys starting to find the rhythm. I don't know if that's Sean Casey's doing. I don't know if that's just pure luck or just coincidence. We'll see. But it seems like if the Yankees really want to be a contender this year, they're going to have to make a big move. They're going to have to make a Juan Soto caliber move, a Shohei Ohtani caliber move, see what they're willing to even offer. But Ryan, looking at the Yankees' chances right now of actually being a good team, being a team that can win in the playoffs, do you think it's blockbuster or bust? Do you think they can add some lower key pieces that can boost the team enough where they're feeling confident can win some games in the playoffs?
Yeah, so I guess it depends on what everyone else does, right? I think this is kind of such a weird deadline because it's all relative to whether Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani are moved or not, right? If Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani stay in Los Angeles and in San Diego with their respective ball clubs, the Yankees going out and getting Cody Bellinger wouldn't be that big of an issue, right? You wouldn't sit back and say, oh, this is a disappointing deadline. Cody Bellinger's a 137 WRC plus. You expect a little bit of regression, but he can play some center field, left-handed, kind of a guy you can look to extend long-term. Not necessarily the safest option in the world coming off of 2 really bad years, but certainly a guy with lots of talent. But in a world where Juan Soto and or Shohei Ohtani get moved, if it's not to the Yankees, not that it's a failure, but it's going to feel a little bit weird. Now, we know teams like the Rays are going to be involved, and there's a doomsday scenario that's not too unrealistic where the Rays land Shohei Ohtani, the Yankees walk away, and they're like, we don't have Shohei Ohtani, they have Shohei Ohtani. Maybe this isn't the year we're winning the World Series. And I guess the big thing here that I want the Yankees to try to find some sort of semblance of is identity or I guess some sort of reoccurring team. I was writing about this in this Bellinger article that I was working on this morning. If you look at the 2020 Yankees on opening or the 2021 Yankees on opening day and the current team in 2023, they have a different catcher, first baseman, second baseman, shortstop, third baseman, left fielder, center fielder. And it's hey, is there no sort of continuity with this team? What is the core of this team in terms of position player groups? Now, granted, it's a little bit disingenuous because Gleyber Torres is still on the team and DJ LeMahieu is still on the team, but LeMahieu was the second baseman. He's no longer the second baseman. Torres was the shortstop. He's no longer the shortstop. In fact, they made that switch midseason. It currently feels like the Yankees don't have a group of players that are going to be here long-term that you're looking to build around. It looks like a lot of these guys are not guys to build around. So, it has you asking the question of who can help jolt that, right? And a guy like Juan Soto is a really good example. A guy like Shohei Ohtani is a really good example of a guy you acquire, you extend them long-term, and you pencil them into the roster for the next 10 years. You don't really have to worry about it. Volpe is hopefully becoming that. I think he's taken a lot of strides, especially defensively. He's one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball this season. You have guys like Aaron Judge, obviously. Giancarlo Stanton's looking better as of late, and if he can continue that trend, he'll be a guy that, can play right field occasionally, can give you a really good bat. You'll obviously take it. Rizzo, is he here long-term? Probably not. He's getting up there in age and he hasn't had the best year this year. So I don't know how inclined the Yankees are to give him that third-year option. But you have guys like Peraza who are coming up today. Maybe he could be a part of that solution long-term, be like a Colton Wong type player. Torres is a 110 WRC plus. For all of his faults, he has been a solid infielder for the Yankees. Is he a guy you give a cheap deal to and say, all right, you know what? We don't have to worry about second base for a while now. Let's just keep Gleyber around. Considering the rest of the options available at the position, it's not great, but, could you include him in a Juan Soto deal or Shohei Ohtani deal? What the Yankees need is not just a superstar, but a guy who can be a part of the face of this or be one of the faces of this franchise for a very long time. Give them some sort of consistency going forward. If you acquire Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani, it's not just for this season. It could potentially be something that changes the direction of your franchise for the next 5 or 6 years. And Alex, I know you can already dream about, imagine Aaron Judge hitting next to Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto. It's an unbelievable thought to have, and it's something the Yankees absolutely need.
Not only do they need it, but they can afford it. Like we know that they can afford players of this magnitude. You have Donaldson's contract coming off the books. Maybe you try to offload another bad deal. Like you have money to spend. And the way to do that is also just to give your young guys opportunities. How many teams do we see, like good teams that are promoting their prospects right now? Like the Orioles do it all the time. Like they're continuously calling up guys, giving them opportunities. The Yankees, who can't win games consistently, have massive regression at some big spots, some high-priced veterans not carrying their weight. They refuse to give younger guys opportunities. Like it takes multiple injuries, and now Peraza, getting called up. We'll see how long he stays up here. If they end up moving him, maybe they leverage a little hot streak and they end up trading him at the deadline. We'll see what happens. But ultimately, the Yankees, like you said, they need to kind of figure out what their identity is. Is their identity a team that gives youngsters an opportunity where they can develop, get the necessary experience and reps where they turn into really good MLB players? Or are they going to keep them all down and force them to struggle and just not call them up and keep rolling with veterans who are 37 years old and can't hit anymore? You know what I mean? This is an identity crisis. There's a lack of communication going on. I think that Dylan Lawson being fired kind of connected a couple of the communication lines, because I think that there was some sort of problem going on. We've heard rumors of like the players being upset at times, or the coaching staff not really communicating well. Some things that were just not, this intangible variables that were hurting the team's development and hurting their efficiency. I think that right now you see Stanton looks really good over the past 2. Like, look, it's a small sample size. We've only seen 2 games after the All-Star break, but Stanton's been really good in the month of July in general. You look at DJ LeMahieu, he has 2 consecutive multi-hit games. Like some of these guys, like there's value there. Like they can freaking play. The fact that Stanton, you look at his numbers and he's actually a 104 WRC plus hitter is mind-boggling to me. Don't understand how he's like hitting 212 with like a 290 OBP and like he's above average hitter basically because he's a slugger. 11 homers, and he has 4 homers in his last 34 at-bats and 2 homers in his last 11 at-bats. You love to see it, right? But the identity of the Yankees has always been, we go out and we get the best guys. We go out and we acquire the best players, and we pay them. And we, do that's always been their strategy. Is it a winning strategy in today's baseball? No. You can't just pay players and be the best team in the league anymore. Like, you can't do it. You look at the Rays, the Orioles, all these teams that are just mastering the art of developing players and finding out how to exercise their strengths. The Yankees haven't been able to do that at a really successful level. We haven't seen a lot of our prospects become above average players in recent years, or hoping Volpe ends up being that. We think he can be. We don't know about Peraza. If they go, like, you know what I mean? Like, our prospects, what homegrown players do we really have that are making significant impacts on the team aside from Judge? Severino's a mess, and, hopefully Volpe's that guy, the next guy in line. But you trade everybody that's necessary because you just don't know what they're going to be. Jason Dominguez, love the guy. He's killing it in July. I'm moving him instantly if it's for Soto or Ohtani. Not even blinking an eye. Austin Wells, moving him. Everson Pereira, moving him. Any of these guys. Will Warren, moving him. Any of those guys that are up for grabs, we don't know if they're going to be superstars, but you go for the proven commodity. Juan Soto turns your team into a superpower. Shohei Ohtani turns your team into a superpower. Watching Juan Soto, as you said, and Judge bat back-to-back, it would be one of the most exciting things Yankee fans have seen probably in decades. You know what I mean? Like, that's, people come to pay. People pay for that. People go to games for that type of excellence. And ultimately, the Yankees have the ability, and they can't let some of these teams get them before them. You know what I mean? Like, if the Dodgers get Ohtani and extend him, they're going to be a problem for a very long time. The Rays, they're going to win the championship this year if they go get Ohtani. Juan Soto, who knows where he goes, but they're good teams are going to come calling to the Yankees have that prospect haul to actually offer. I think they do. Look, the truth is, and I think this is the kind of the roundabout of the entire episode, is that if the Yankees want to win a championship, not just this year, but over the next couple of years, they need to go blockbuster or bust. Like, it's they get the best players or they don't, because we don't have enough homegrown talent to elevate this team to where it needs to be, where we can win a championship based on our own prospects. You know what I mean? We're not going to win a championship with our own prospects, unfortunately. We need to go out and get big players. We don't have an Orioles farm system. Our farm system is good, don't get me wrong, but we also don't give them opportunities. You know what I mean, Ryan? Like, I think that's something that you've been pretty frustrated about over the past couple of kind of seasons, I guess, is that we may have a good farm system, but we refuse to use them. And I feel like that's kind of the identity crisis that we're trying to deal with. What do you think about that? Because I know that's something that's peeved you in the past.
Yeah, so something I'm really not a big fan of is the idea that, you should have prospects that you don't play or don't trade, right? The worst situation you could be in with a prospect is they're just in the organization and you don't really, you don't have much faith that they're going to play. And Oswald Peraza is kind of in that situation right now. He clearly should start every day at third base. DJ LeMahieu currently has an 84 WRC plus. I understand he's a little bit better lately, but here's the thing. The larger sample size for me has told me he's not the player he used to be, number one. And number two, Oswald Peraza presents more upside and he's a really good defensive player. Can Oswald Peraza help the Yankees? I think he can. Can he save the Yankees? Definitely not. I mean, you're asking a 23-year-old defense first guy to save you. I think that's a little bit much, but can he be a plus defender at third base with good base running tools? League average offense, solid command of the strike zone. Sure. And as a homegrown talent, that's a 2.5 WAR player, really. Is that really that bad? You know what I mean? Like, is a cost controlled 2.5 to 3 WAR player with some offensive upside and good all around tools like your 7 or 8 hitter the worst thing in the world? Looking at like a Juan Soto trade, for example, that's going to involve a lack of infield prospects. The Padres don't really need infielders, right? Ha-Seong Kim, Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado. At least in Machado and Bogart's case, they're there long term. And Ha-Seong Kim is there for at least the next year or two. And he's a pretty good player. I don't know if you've seen his defense. It's remarkable. So I don't think they're in the market for, hey, we really want Oswald Peraza. You know what I mean? But if you package like Jason Dominguez and Everson Pereira and Austin Wells and guys like that, could you maybe get a deal done? I think you could. And that still leaves you with some guys to maybe go out and get a Cody Bellinger. You throw money at Bellinger and Soto. You kind of try to keep them there long term, I guess, when they hit free agency. And your lineup for the next at least 2 years could look like Bellinger, Judge, Soto, Stanton, Rizzo, Torres, Volpe, Peraza, and I guess your catchers. I don't really know if Higashioka sticks there, whatever it may be, but that's a young team. That's a good young team. That's a dynamic young a lot and win a lot of games doing so. It's more so about building continuity. And when we're talking about acquiring a superstar, you have to make sure your scouting's really good because, number one, not that you're trying to trade bad prospects, because end of the day, that doesn't really make sense. How can you try to trade bad prospects for an elite player? But you're hoping that you don't trade anyone that's, catastrophic to you, I guess, or someone that could help you. Like Juan Soto playing left field. And if you were to acquire like a center fielder, a veteran one, or maybe keep Beta around, however that would be, let's be real here, right? You're not going to really need Everson Pereira or Jason Dominguez at that point. Juan Soto's 24, right? If you acquire Ohtani, right, you might need another outfielder, but you could like swap Pereira out for like Peraza, and that suddenly makes sense. And now you have a superstar caliber player. I think really what we're trying to get at with this episode is not just, the Yankees should trade for Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani. That's obvious. Everyone knows that if those two guys are available and the Yankees can get them, yeah, they should go out and get them. That's not really a thought, right? I don't have to explain that to you guys. But more so what we're trying to explain is that the Yankees have to look at this from a short-term and long-term perspective, because it makes sense from both sides. You want to build a team that is going to win today and going to win in 3 years. And if you acquire one of these two big star players and you play your cards right, you might be capable of doing that. But it starts with trusting their farm system a little bit more. Yes, that is kind of an oxymoron when I'm asking you to also trade prospects, but the guys you still have, trust them. And if you can trust them and if you can develop them properly, you'll get some pretty solid players. And you'll be able to build a decent core around two superstar players and Judge and whoever the other guy you hypothetically acquire is.
Absolutely. But guys, I'd love to your perspectives here. Do you think it's blockbuster or bust for the Yankees? Definitely going to be an interesting couple of weeks coming up as the trade deadline approaches. But we got you guys covered every day. New news, any rumors, anything coming out. You can find it here on Fireside Yankees on all of our platforms. So appreciate you very much. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.